Roll Tide! And welcome to Crimson Tide Rewind, live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills. The fans have spoken. This is the triumphant return of Cory Reamer to Crimson Tide Rewind. Let's hear it again.
Hey, appreciate y'all. It's good to be back.
Absolutely, we missed you.
I've missed you guys, missed the family. It's been. I'm sure Tyler has done a phenomenal job. You got to break them in. You can't just let them walk in and get all the cheers and all the love. This has been years in the making. So it's, what is this? What, it was 5 or 6, I believe? I
believe so,
yeah.
Well, we're certainly glad you're back again.
Yeah.
Cory's here filling in for Tyler tonight on the show. Tyler Watts, our former Crimson Tide quarterback, color analyst, has a Red Elephant Club event in Mobile tonight, so he'll be back with us in a couple weeks when we resume this show. But he's Cory Reamer. I'm Roger Hoover. It's good to talk to all of you tonight for the next hour about Crimson Tide football, especially Cory after a win against Wisconsin.
Well, by the way, before we get there, the fact that there's cheers like this for a linebacker over a quarterback doesn't happen very much, so I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. This doesn't happen very often at all, so I'll take it.
I mean, you were a national champion.
That is true. No, great win this weekend. Did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the theme of the last 2 weeks from this Alabama team is you can't ask for much more than what they did against Louisiana Monroe. And they went out there and took care of business like they were supposed to against Wisconsin this weekend. So really encouraged by the direction of where this team is headed. Obviously, still, reeling a little bit off that first week. They've just really decreased the margin of error that we have for the rest of this season. So it seems like this team has started to turn a corner. I'm not going to say that Wisconsin is one of the best teams that we're going to face. Obviously, we have a pretty tough schedule remaining throughout the rest of the season. But it's good to see that they were out there playing as hard as they did. They've got the energy level up from that first week. They were flying to the football. They were executing extremely well. And what else, there's not much more that you could ask for from that standpoint.
Certainly not. And again, it was a very tough first week against Florida State, but it seems like from everything we've kind of kept learning about, and I've even learned about in some player interviews over the last couple of days, I mean, just the response in that locker room from the players more than anything showing leadership was really good after that loss, and we've seen it backed up now with the ULM game and Wisconsin.
Yeah, and Tim Keenan wasn't able to make the trip to Tallahassee. And being in that locker room for the last 2 weeks, seeing the impact that he has on this team and the way that he's standing up pregame, halftime, postgame, celebrating his teammates, challenging his teammates, bringing the energy that you need to get this team going. It was missed, obviously, in that first week. And I'm excited that he's finally going to get to be back and hopefully be playing. Hopefully he's 100% in a couple of weeks. He was out of the boot on the sideline on Saturday, which is a good sign. You also got Jam Miller that's going to be hopefully coming back and be ready to go in Athens in a couple of weeks. But you're right. You could just tell that there was a completely different vibe from what I felt and saw on the sideline that first week in Tallahassee to what we saw last week in a blowout win. And I think that was the most, encouraging thing is these guys were not just celebrating the first teams. They were the second team, the third team. And all those guys that were out there playing at the end of the game were playing full speed and playing like they were on a mission. They were not out there just trying to run the clock out and get their reps and be done and want to go to the locker room and celebrate. They were playing tough and physical, and I think that the challenge has started from the top down, and even Coach DeBoer of how do you motivate this team, how you challenge this team, and what the standard is for this team has trickled down, and the players have it's always, with 2010, I remember that was a team that had all the talent in the world and maybe not the vocal leadership. And you can lead by example as much as you want to, but sometimes you need those guys that really just bring in a different charge into the locker room. And I think we've got that, and these guys have stepped up in a big way to motivate these guys.
This is your first season as our full-time sideline reporter. Just how much are you enjoying getting to be on the sidelines during the games and then those peeks inside the locker room pregame and postgame?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part is you get to see kind of the inner workings of this new staff. Some people that not many people in that locker room that I know, Josh Chapman, Freddie Roach, and then the list kind of drops off from there after Jeff Allen and a few others, Jeremy Giselle. It's been a lot of fun. I've had to kind of retrain my brain how to watch football because you just do it, as a fan for so long, even though we did this show, but doing it from a sideline and having to do it live, not where you can just go back and watch something and kind of diagnose what happened and have some time to think about it and really watch a replay. Doing it live and seeing it and trying to verbalize what you're seeing that quickly is not easy. It's something that, watching it from that field level too, from up in the booth, you get a whole picture. Trying to see it from down low and trying to give something that is correct or just something that's interesting that I see. It's a lot of work. I'm mentally exhausted after every single game, and physically, if you watch me on the sideline, I'm just working from one end zone to the other the entire time.
Yeah, step count yet?
I mean, I don't wear a watch that counts anything, so I probably don't need to know. But it's been a lot of fun. We got a great team. You, Chris, Tyler, Tom, Butch, everybody, Ethan, everybody in the booth makes my job a whole lot easier. Obviously, they're a lot of fun to work with. They keep it light. I think that's the biggest surprise for me is I'm trying to be an analyst. I'm trying to bring all this knowledge, and it's like we can cut up and have a pretty good time with our crew, too. So that's been fun.
Absolutely. You're doing a great job. Let's hear it again for Cory Reamer. He's with us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind. Again, live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills. We're talking Alabama, Wisconsin for the next hour. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Alabama going with a four-man front as Wisconsin will shift and put a man in the backfield to the right of Danny O'Neal. That is Jones, as O'Neal will fire and it's picked off. Intercepted. Alabama. Bray Hubbard getting the pick. The junior from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, steps in the passing lane, and Bama gets a takeaway right back.
Chris Stewart on the call of the first Bray Hubbard interception this past Saturday against Wisconsin as Alabama wins 38-14 over the Badgers. Keep up with everything Alabama with the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app presented by Cadence Bank, available at the App Store and Google Play. Download the Alabama Crimson Tide mobile app now for free. Great to see that for Bray Hubbard. 2 interceptions in this ballgame and is the SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, well deserved, and I think it's been 2 weeks in the making. This guy got challenged by everybody, from the fan base to the coaches to the analysts to everybody that was out there. Everybody had Alabama dead to rights after the first game, and a lot of it was analyzing these players, the effort, the toughness, and all this other stuff, and he was the focus because he was a guy coming into the season that everybody was looking for the leadership and the guy that was going to be the one on this defense that really set the tone. And we've talked about this, during game days and leading up to this season. Everything we saw in practice, fall camp, practices during the week, everything that we saw was positive. It all looked like things were going the right way, and I think that was one of the biggest shocks was when you go out there and see the first game, and the effort was a shock to everybody, to the players themselves, to the coaching staff. It was all like, what's going on here? It was kind of unexplainable why it panned out that way, and I think Bray, in his maturity, shows up to coach's office the next week and he admits to the coaching staff like that. I don't know what that was, but you're never going to get that from me again. And I think he took it upon himself to go prove all these people wrong. In the last 2 games, he's done exactly that. I thought it was an unbelievable performance by him on Saturday, getting 2 picks, and not just because the ball was thrown right to him. I mean, he created those opportunities the way that he's playing defense, and he is leading. He is the heartbeat of that defense, and we've got a lot of good leaders there, but he is one of the guys that makes everything flow, especially from that safety position. He's your backstop. He's the one who's got to create a lot of plays. And I'm excited. I was excited to see him. Preseason, he was the guy that I was the most looking forward to see what kind of year that he was going to have. And he's answered the bell, and now it's hopefully continues to play at this level because he's playing at an extremely high level right now.
And I realize we haven't played the best passing offenses we're going to see so far this season in Florida State, ULM, and Wisconsin. But is this secondary starting to live up to the hype?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, we haven't been tested, like you said. Louisiana Monroe was. You heard the coach before that game. I'm married to the zone.
Stretch zone
I'm married to the stretch zone. We're going to run it 70% of the time, and you got the same thing from Wisconsin. Jeff Grimes is a guy who wants to establish a run. Old school Wisconsin offense. You knew that was going to be the case. You got a backup quarterback in there who's got a little bit of mobility, but you knew what the MO of that offense was running the football. So What I am excited about is the way that anything that has been completed, there was a couple completions down the field. We've been in good position. They've just been really good throws. There's not a lot of just busted coverages. These guys are playing really well on the back end. And what helps out that the most is getting pressure up front, and we've been doing that this year. Last year it was a lot of talk during the all season of we're not getting home to the quarterback enough with our front seven. And this week we had 3 sacks and a few quarterback hurries, and we hit the guy a lot, and that changes the dynamic for everything. We created a lot of turnovers last year, but now we're finally getting that guy on the ground as well. We're going to see a different passing attack. Georgia, still to be determined. They want to throw the ball a little bit more. They've got the ability to.
Kind of had to on Saturday.
Yeah, you had to on Saturday. Gunnar Stockton is a quarterback that can make all the throws, and they've got one of the most talented wide receiver groups in the conference. And so we're gonna definitely get tested in Athens in a couple Saturdays, which will be good for this defense. We've been building this confidence as a defense after that first week and facing that style of offense that's really just very difficult to game plan for. But this is going to be completely different. The Vandy's and the Missouris and the Georgias and the Tennessees of the world, they're not looking to 3 yards in a cloud of dust, run stretch zone 70% of the time. They're gonna put a lot of pressure on the secondary.
Great to see Bray Hubbard again, the SEC co-defensive player of the week after he picked up a pair of interceptions against Wisconsin on Saturday. More on that when we return. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
They'll bunch everybody in. The wideouts are not wide at the moment. Spread formation behind Simpson, though, as he works under center. He'll hand it off to try to get to the edge with Bernard. Diving, did he get to the pylon? Yes! Touchdown, Alabama! Jeremy Bernard, the 2-yard touchdown run. And the Crimson Tide gets on the board first. 2:24 remaining opening quarter. It's 6-0 Bama here in Tuscaloosa.
You can join us on the show, Crimson Tide Rewind, by submitting your question to us on the Alabama Media Group Twitter line at UA_CTSN. Brought to you by AL.com, Alabama's largest news site with daily coverage of the Crimson Tide. Talking about the Alabama offense, maybe a 4-and-out for Alabama to start the game, but then after that, nothing but some really solid drives afterwards. It wasn't until the fourth quarter when Alabama had to have a kick to close out a drive. Ty Simpson running that offense well on Saturday.
Yeah, he's been efficient the last 2 weeks. 17 of 17 last week against Louisiana Monroe, and was he 24 of 29 this week? And a couple of those were drops. He's playing really well. He's really feeling comfortable in this offense. He is seeing and timing his throws so much better than he was that first week. And obviously got put in some pretty difficult spots in that Florida State game. They were able to rush 4, had a lot of athleticism up front with their defensive line. They were getting home. But I'll tell you what, and that is something that we've got to improve on going forward. Our offensive line has still got a lot of area of room for improvement just based on what we saw Saturday early on in that 4-and-out starting drive. They were able to get a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson. He was having to move his feet in the pocket so much. He's not had very many games or a lot of times where he's had clean pockets where he can stand back there and really diagnose the defense and see what he sees. He is having to move around with his feet a bunch, get the ball out, and taking a lot of hits when he does it. But that's what's impressive about him is the first game he's got his eyes kind of down in front of him, and he's watching this defensive line because they're coming after him so much. Now you see he's keeping his eyes up a lot, and he's being able to see what's going on. He's stepping into throws, knowing that he's going to take a hit. And that is a massive maturity level of a quarterback when you know that you're going to take a hit and you can still deliver strikes like that ball to Ryan Williams, the deep out route on the left side of the field. Stands in and takes the hit and delivers an absolute strike. He's playing really well. I think Ryan Grubb and this offense really they're starting to figure each other out. We saw on Saturday we were moving a lot of offensive linemen around. I think we're trying to figure out what this combination that we need to be a little bit more consistent up front where we can protect him but also establish the run game. It's one thing we've got to continue to improve on as well.
Yeah, did you like seeing Michael Carroll rotate in a right tackle? Also really got to see Jaden Roberts for the first time this year, finally healthy.
Yeah, I mean, with Cam Dewberry, and then you've also got Gino Vandermark and Jaden Roberts, all those guys, I think we're just trying to, and we talked about this last couple years. Every time early on the season, the biggest emphasis for us is what is the chemistry across that front line? Who are those 5 guys that can really communicate well? And you've got to have so much feel as an offensive line. You can't sit there. You're not going to be able to talk. Your eyes are here, straight ahead, and you're leaning on the guy next to you to be able to pick up what's coming on or for you to feel where you've got to help out. And it just takes a lot of game reps to get that level of comfortability with each other. And so I'm kind of not shocked that we have rotated some guys at some different positions and trying to find what that real solid group that's going to carry us through the SEC schedule and the rest of this year of what that looks like. But glad to see luckily these last 2 games have allowed us to get for those guys to get reps, and we need it. And I think depth is such an issue for every team in the country with the transfer portal and NIL, and you don't have all this time to kind of build the confidence and the reps with these guys during the offseason because you got so many new faces and injuries and everything else. So it's a good thing for us before we kick off this next stretch of games that a lot of these guys have gotten meaningful reps, not just cleanup duty reps, meaningful reps where they've seen some real live action.
Well, coming up this weekend, Alabama does not have a game, but if you want to catch all the games going on around college football, this is the place. Baumhower's Victory Grille, your big game headquarters this fall for the 2025 football season. Baumhower's has been voted best wings in Alabama and the #1 sports-themed restaurant in the state. They're featuring their fan favorites this fall that include the Ragin' Cajun Gooey Fries, Go Fish, the Gooey Char-Grilled Chicken Sandwich, and their scratch-made Cabo Wabo Tequila Margaritas. All you football fans, kick off your season in legendary fashion and make Baumhower's Victory Grille your big game headquarters all season long. Back with more Crimson Tide Rewind next. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
At their 44-yard line, Kevin Riley in the backfield. Behind the quarterback, Simpson, who operates from the pistol. 2 wideouts left. Play action. Tide looking with time. Downfield, has a man. Catches made 20, 15, 10-5. Walking into the end zone. That's Jeremy Bernard. And that is 6 more for the Crimson Tide.
J&J Apparel, your trusted source for Bama gear. New Alabama hats, t-shirts, and polos are arriving daily. Visit online at jnjapparel.net or shop their retail store, 1926 University Boulevard in downtown Tuscaloosa. RTR with J&J, and right now it's Germ leading the way in the Alabama wide receiver room. Great to see him again impact this ball game. We heard his rushing touchdown highlight earlier, but a nice receiving one as well.
Yeah, he's been playing lights out. He's been that safety valve for Ty Simpson. He's been the guy that he can trust. If I'm going to throw this ball up, he's going to go and get it. What impresses me the most about him is not just what he does in the passing game. He's that kind of guy. He reminds me a lot of Julio. Now, obviously, Julio's talent level is, second to none, but watching the way that he works in the running game, going out there and making blocks, sacrificing his body, getting in front of people, and he goes full speed every single play. He earns the right to have the success that he's had in the passing game and the throws that he's receiving. Obviously, Ryan Williams was out last week, and I thought that did wonders for some of these other guys that we're seeing really step up and be impact players in that wide receiver room as well. Lottie Brooks, good to see him out there. If you watch on Saturday, how many times we had some route combinations with Williams and Bernard on opposite sides of the field, and they have so much respect from opposing defenses. They're running so fast and clearing out the defense, getting so deep that it just opened up that middle section of the field for us, and guys like Lottie Brooks were wide open and taking advantage of it. Having 2 guys like Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams that are such deep threats, really, it makes this receiving core just you got to be licking your chops if you're that third, fourth guy that's in the rotation, because you know that they're going to have all the focus on both of those guys when we line up.
And a lot of that is Isaiah Horton. 5 catches, 48 yards. Didn't seem fully healthy against Florida State week 1, but, I mean, he showed what he can do against Wisconsin.
Yeah, I got a little banged up in that Florida State game. Not exactly sure what it was, if it was hip flexor or something wrong. It was definitely a lower body injury that just didn't seem like he could be running full speed. But Isaiah Horton is we've got that room is just full of talent. I would say probably the most talented receiving room in the country, not just the conference. And we've got to do a great job going forward when we get into conference play of allowing Ty Simpson to take advantage of that. But you saw the game plan change a little bit this week. Ball comes out a little bit faster out of Ty's hands. We're not sitting back there and taking as many dropbacks. The biggest thing that can help us is establishing the run game. Get the run game going. I'm sitting here looking at this depth chart that I brought, and it's from preseason. And you mentioned that Kevin Riley highlight that we had here. He's not even listed on the first 5 running backs that we had going into this season. He was not in the top 5 on the depth chart. And what an impact he's made on this team. You lose Jam Miller. You're trying to figure out who that next guy is. You come out against Florida State. You got Richard Young and Daniel Hill and Dre Washington. And then all of a sudden Kevin Riley gets snaps. And coming out of spring, his name wasn't mentioned. You didn't hear much about this guy. Something has started to click for him. He has taken advantage of every opportunity that he can get being on the field, and he's really been, in my opinion, one of the biggest impact players on this offense that has really sprung opportunities for these receivers, because we saw against Florida State, if they know you're in obvious passing down situations, if you're just trying to you run the ball to no success, they're able to stop you with only bringing 4. You're not having to bring all these extra guys to get pressure or to shut down the run. It makes it very difficult to get, I don't care who you are, how many wide receivers you got that are really good. When you're going 4 or 5 on 7, it's a numbers game. It's just really difficult. So he's been a springboard for this offense and the success we've seen in the last 2 weeks.
Loved what we saw from Alabama's offense against Wisconsin in the 38-14 win this past Saturday in Tuscaloosa. And if you're coming to Tuscaloosa for our next home game against Vanderbilt in a few weeks, make sure you join us at Vector Security Champions Lane. It is the best pregame fan fest in the country. Our live radio broadcast will get things started 3 hours before kickoff, followed by a free pregame concert featuring fan favorite Uncle Kracker.
Yes.
We'll also, you ready to
yeah, let's go.
drift away with Uncle Kracker? Yeah, it's going to be a good
It's a throwback right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to have him on stage. We'll also have the largest outdoor LED screens in Tuscaloosa, meet and greets with Alabama student athletes, food trucks, and, of course, ice-cold beer in Legends Lounge, where there is never a cover charge. Visit championslane.com each week for more details. We'll be back with more in just a moment. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Riley in the backfield to the right of Simpson, who operates from the pistol. 2 tight end look. He will pick it up. He'll fire. It is caught. Touchdown. What a throw. What a catch. What a half from Alabama. Isaiah Horton on the receiving end of the 13-yard strike. And Bama leads it 20-0.
Thanks for joining us on the show this evening. Make sure you submit your question to us on the Alabama Media Group Twitter line at UA_CTSN. Brought to you by AL.com. It's Alabama's largest news site with daily coverage of the Crimson Tide. Roger Hoover, Cory Reamer breaking down Alabama's 38-14 win against Wisconsin. Again, just solid performances all around. You mentioned the running game. That was really the strength of Wisconsin coming in. They've been able to stop the run this season. But what would it do for this Crimson Tide team to have Jam Miller healthy along with a guy like Kevin Riley and what we've seen from that position?
Yeah, we desperately need them. I think these guys have done a good job of filling in for obviously missing Jam Miller out of this offense, but hopefully he can bring that spark. I mean, he's just a guy that runs completely different than all the rest of them. He can go between the tackles and really punish people. And when you can string together some of those first and second early down runs where you're clipping 3-4 yards at a time and get favorable down and distance situations, it really opens up this offense where that was the problem against Florida State. We never forced their defense to have to come play downhill first. It makes the play action just absolutely irrelevant. You just don't have to respect the run game, and I think we're going to need him to really just step up his level and come in, and hopefully he's full speed. He hasn't been able to play a full game. He's going to have to get him back into some shape, but it's good that you've got that Kevin Riley back there. Been impressed with him, of the way that he runs hard behind his shoulder pads. Not as big of a guy as Jan Miller is, but the way that he runs between the tackles is impressive. You get him in a phone booth, good luck getting him down. He's so shifty as well. So if we can get that 1-2 punch, that old thunder and lightning kind of mix up between the two of them, it puts a lot of pressure on the linebackers and the safeties of opposing defense, where they've got to take at least 1 or 2 steps downhill first before they can start playing the pass, which will open up a whole lot of things. You can start seeing some more deep shots. We haven't been able to attack the middle of the field a lot. All the deep throws that we've had have really been on the outside, out-breaking routes, nothing that's really been down the middle, and that's where this running game improving is going to help that out a lot.
So the Crimson Tide off to a 2-1 start this season with a win against Wisconsin. And now we get into the first of 2 open dates, 2 bye weeks for Alabama. And last year, that was a really good thing, setting up the Georgia game, setting up the LSU game. How does Alabama take advantage of this time to get ready for Athens?
Well, I know that they were off today and they're off tomorrow, and they're going to go get some rest. And you got to take advantage of that rest. And then you've got practice on Thursday and Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday is something light, probably nothing too heavy. And then you've got Saturday to rest as well. Massive thing right now is cleaning up what you made mistakes on so far this season. Going back and watching the tape, coaches are pulling, Kirby Smart's over there watching what we've done 3 games. He's looking at those 3 games and seeing, all right, where did they struggle? What formations did they really have issues with? Where were the weak points of their defense that they weren't able to really play well? And he's going to be drawing up that offense to really take advantage of those. And so for us, on the flip side, is we've got to really hone in on where did we screw up? Where did we not do things the right way? How can we improve? Make sure communication's done right. Also spend a lot of time with Jeff Allen. You're nursing your injuries. It's only 3 games. It's already quarter of the way through the season, which is hard to believe. But make sure that you're healthy to go on this next 6 game, I think is what it is, 5-game stretch. And it's because it's going to be a physical one. There's no Louisiana Monroes in here. There's only some really good in this conference, the way that this conference is this year, the parity across the board. There's nobody that's really those cupcake games anymore. You've got to be ready to go week in and week out. And I think not losing the intensity level that we've seen the last 2 weeks. The attention to detail, execution, all the cliches that you can possibly have, those things are the most important for this Alabama team, because like I said earlier, there's no room for a letdown. You've got to be ready to go every single week. You can't have what happened last year. You've had some victories. You're riding high. Don't rest on, what you did to get you to this point. You've got to keep ramping that up and improving every single week. You've got a few practices this week. You've got to take advantage of them.
We'll talk more about that when we return. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
That one, double reverse for Bama. In the flip back to the quarterback, who slings it to Williams. We got a screen set up. He'll split him. He'll go across the 40. Gets another block. Across midfield. 20, 10. Touchdown, Alabama. 75 yards. Double reverse, a little flea flicker, a little receiver screen to the deuce, and he takes it to the house.
Isn't it nice to have Ryan Williams healthy, playing at a high level for the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, you allowed a kickoff return the very next play, though.
Well,
not
that was set up by the penalty.
Not to bring us down.
Coaching moment for Coach DeBoer, something to be upset about in the bye week.
He was fired up. For all those Alabama fans that say he doesn't have any emotion, you should have seen him on the sideline when that penalty flag came out in the celebration. And the kid was just he was getting ready to run on the field for the PAT, and it's just unfortunate mistake, and it cost us. And I think that's a learning lesson for everybody. But yeah, having Ryan Williams back out there with the that sandlot play that we drew up was coming out at halftime. It was just like, all right, that kind of put the nail, or what we thought was the proverbial nail in the coffin. He's just such a playmaker. He's so dynamic. He's so fast. I think what we saw from him this week, obviously in that Florida State game, we tried to change up our game plan of where we line him up. I saw him a lot in the slot against Florida State. And he's got the ability to be that complete receiver where you can line him up anywhere. I think Florida State did a really good job of being physical with him. The safeties, Earl Little Jr., a lot of those guys were playing downhill very fast and getting a lot of contact against him. But you saw how dynamic he is when he's on the edge. And then you just draw up plays like that where you get a guy like him the ball in space. He is going to be special. He's going to make plays happen. He's just so fluid, so quick. Whatever direction he's running, it doesn't look like he has to change speeds. Like, it is full speed no matter which way he cuts. He's just a special player. Glad that he had the day that he had this weekend. We're going to need more performances like that from him for the rest of the year.
He had the game-winning touchdown against Georgia last year, and Georgia is next for the Crimson Tide in a couple of weeks, going to Athens, where we really haven't played that many football games over the last 10, 15 years. First time since 2015, Alabama's been there. You were there as a player. What does this group have to do to play better on the road?
Man, hopefully it's not raining like it was in 2015.
Yeah. Well, that kind of played Alabama's favor with Derrick Henry.
It really did. And I don't know if that is the same case for us this year. You know, in 2015, Derrick Henry, you've got guys that can run the football, and that was our MO as an offense, and it played exactly into our hands. We've got to be able to take this show on the road. We said it after the game on Saturday. We're playing extremely well at home. How do we handle when you don't have the crowd behind you and you've got a lot of noise and things aren't going your way? Early on, you know, going into this Wisconsin game, knowing what their offensive game plan was of trying to run the football and milk the clock. The only way you can change the outcome of that ball game is if you put points on the board early and you force them into situations they don't want to be in. They're running an offense that they do not want to run, or just don't have the ability to play catch up with. You know, they don't have a quarterback that's going to. Ty Simpson had to throw it 43 times against Florida State, and it proved to be, you know, detrimental for us. It wasn't what we wanted to do going into that game. Going on the road, the fastest way to quiet the crowd noise or to change, you know, force the team into uncomfortable situations, opposing teams into uncomfortable situations, is have some success early on and get them behind the sticks. You know, from a defensive standpoint, continue to get pressure on quarterbacks. Don't let these guys get in these second and third down and short situations where they can take deep shots and look for that big play. Put them in, back them up for, you know, second and 12s, you know, third and long situations where they're just trying to move the sticks, not with the freedom to try to take deep shots and create big plays.
It's going to be a night game in Athens. Does Georgia dare to wear the black jerseys?
You know, Kirby was on. He was on the other sideline in 2008 when all that went down. He probably remembers Cochran very well of that practice that week of announcing that they were going to their own funeral. I don't know if, you know, he was a part of so many Alabama teams that tried to do all these different jerseys and these, you know, whatever, whiteouts, blackouts, whatever it was, and it just always kind of backfired. I wouldn't be shocked if he kind of shies away from that or discourages those types of things. It's a great-looking uniform. I mean, I don't hate it. But
it's not very successful. Yeah.
It's not. And playing in Athens between the hedges against a good Georgia team, they should not have to, you know, do something special. But, you know, you never know. It could happen. I hope that he does. We're matching it. Our coaching staff's wearing all black on the sidelines, too. It's, you know, this past Saturday, Kalen DeBoer in the black hoodie. It was 100 degrees, and I was like, you chose this. Like, this was – I'm over there in pants and I'm dying, and you've got a black hoodie on. Like, I just didn't make much sense to me. But I'm glad. I hope he wears it every single game. It's brought good mojo for us. You know, he tried to appease the fans by wearing a golf shirt in that first game. Saw what happened. He goes back to his hoodie. You know what? It really doesn't matter what a coach wears. If you win ball games, everybody's going to let you wear whatever you want to. So I'm happy that he's gotten comfortable and he's dressing the part that he wants to be dressed as. Yeah.
We look forward to all that coming up in a couple of weeks. You're listening to Crimson Tide Rewind live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
After the shifting, 2 wideouts each side. Snap goes to Simpson. Fader out right side. Back shoulder caught by Williams. Makes a man miss. Zigs, zags, scores. Touchdown Alabama. 40 yards.
This is Crimson Tide Rewind, live from Baumhower's Victory Grille in Vestavia Hills. Roger Hoover, Cory Reamer taking a look at some SEC finals from this past weekend. Obviously, the Crimson Tide really got the day started well with a 38-14 win over Wisconsin. And then we had a full slate of college football after that. Most people were watching number 6 Georgia against number 15 Tennessee. Vols had a chance to win it in regulation, a missed field goal. Then the Bulldogs get it done in overtime.
Man, that's so brutal in front of your home crowd, too. All the focus was on that kid running out there for that kick to win that ball game, get that monkey off your back if you're Tennessee, and you let Georgia, squeak away with one right there. And Kirby even said it in the postgame. It's like we probably didn't deserve this one, but that's how football is. You got to make the kicks, you got to make the plays, and Georgia edges Tennessee. That was a great game. I think the takeaway from that game is that both of those teams are really good. Even though Tennessee did lose that ball game, Joey Aguilar at quarterback is running that offense really well. I mean, 44-41. How much offense is in that game?
And for Georgia to be involved in that, because typically their offenses have not been able to keep up in a game like that.
But the respect you got to have for Georgia is they got down early. Yeah. I mean, it was 21-7, 14-0 pretty quick, and then they just kind of kept chipping away and showed that resilience of their mindset of getting back in this ball game and found a way to win. Sometimes you just have to have things that fall your way. 2009, we had a few games that we had some things go our way, and that's just the name of the game. That's why you play the games. And then seeing Gunnar Stockton continue to improve. He had a couple games to kind of get his feet wet, and now he's getting into the teeth of this SEC schedule, and we'll see what he's able to do if he can sustain. But impressive performance on the offensive side of the ball for sure.
Then under the lights in Baton Rouge, LSU picking up a 20-10 win against Florida, and maybe not the best day for the LSU offense. Apologies to Brian Kelly if he's listening, but his defense certainly came to play against DJ Lagway.
Yeah, don't start the press conference off with asking about the offense. He is not happy about it, and I kind of agree with him. It's, man, you've got a tough opponent. Yeah. You knew that they were coming off of a bad loss. Billy Napier is going to have his team ready to play, and LSU found a way to win, and I think that's the most important thing. Whenever you're in conference, it doesn't matter. You get wins as often as you possibly can, because Florida is a talented team. Forced DJ Lagway into 4 interceptions. If Florida wants to stand a chance, they've got Miami coming up this week. Game day's going to be there. He has turned the ball over way too much. He's really talented, but you cannot throw 4 interceptions, especially when you're playing in Death Valley.
And also 2 other night games I wanted to talk about. Texas A&M, Notre Dame. That was a thriller in South Bend.
Yeah, it was. I mean, same thing. High-scoring game. Texas A&M comes away with, you watch the tape and see some of those last plays at the very end. There's some potential missed calls there, but again, their flags weren't thrown. You got to keep playing. Texas A&M finds a way to win. Notre Dame sitting at 0-2, still ranked in the top 25. They've had 2 tough losses so far.
And then for South Carolina, that was a team I really liked going into the season. I thought was going to be one of Alabama's toughest matchups.
Yeah.
And then boom, Vanderbilt smacks them in the mouth, 31-7.
Yeah, you lose Lenore Sellers early in that game in the second quarter, and he goes out with a concussion, and watching them so far this season, it's pretty obvious that he is the only way that team wins any ball games. They're not giving him much help at all on either side of the football there. We all thought that they were going to give a lot of people fits on, we go into their place in a few weeks and thought that was going to be, and still is, it's going to be tough. He's obviously probably going to be back from concussion protocol, but I tell you what, Vanderbilt is playing with a chip on their shoulder. They did what they did last year. They upset a lot of people. They played, pretty good football. But this year, it even seems like they've taken it to another level. They've got another gear, and it's almost like they're kind of disrespected. Not Diego Pavia. He is very much respected, but I think everybody else around him feels like, this is not a one-trick pony here. We are a good football team, and Clark Lee has them playing at a really high level. They're going to give a lot of people fits, and this is not going to be one of those revenge games, where they just show up and they got away with one last year. Like, this is going to be a tough football game when they show up to Tuscaloosa in a few weeks.
Certainly will be. So that was everything in Week 3 of the college football season. We'll be back to tell you more about Alabama and Georgia when we wrap up the show next. This is Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.